We're starting a little bit late today because unfortunately our speaker had some travel plans today, so we are going speakerless. So anyway, if we could get started. Dudley, is it possible you could lead us in prayer, please?
Yes.
Sorry, I caught you.
Lord, we're grateful for your presence in our lives. We thank you for the gifts you give us every day, many of which we fail to even recognize. We know that you're alive in our world. We pray for those brave men and women who put their lives on the line every day that we might enjoy the freedoms this nation has to offer every single one of us. We're grateful for you. Now we ask that you bless us through our lives and us, your servants, for it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Dan McCuskey, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And my buddy Tom Daney, could you lead us in the four-way test?
Four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, everybody. Chuck Wilson, a late addition to us today. We're glad he could make the meeting.
Glad to be here. I read that what COVID-19 stands for is the average number of pounds people have put on during this pandemic. It's funny, getting all kinds of weird calls lately. This morning I had a call and it had the identifier North Korea. Wonder what that one was about. I didn't take it. But, anyway, do we have any happy bucks here? Any happy bucks? Okay. Well, we have a couple of guests. Renee, you have a couple of guests here. Welcome, ladies. Okay, I guess that's it. All right.
A couple of things I want to remind everybody of. The governor does have his little spies coming out to different facilities and things of that nature. We had talked about last week how the health department was going into bars and so forth, make sure that everybody is compliant. We want to make sure that we're compliant here. The Chesapeake Conference Center has put in basically the email every week, make sure that we're wearing our mask at all times unless we're sitting down. And also we need to keep with the compliance of only 3 people to a table to make sure that we're all properly social distancing. The last thing that we need and the conference center needs is to get shut down for any reason, and then we can't enjoy this delicious lunch that we have every Wednesday. So I just wanted to make an announcement concerning that as well. Other than that, I know that we do have some red badges. I don't want to put anybody on the spot in particular, but if anybody, in order to fill some time up today, wants to give their classification speech, they're more than welcome to do so. If they want to wait till club day, that's fine as well. All right, since we have no takers, I know Debbie had mentioned you may have some information concerning the current status of the schools. If you could come up here and let us know what's going on.
On myself, I guess I don't need it right now. Yeah, Debbie asked me to speak since Nancy couldn't be here. Just to give you an update, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me about individual issues or something like that with the schools. In Chesapeake Public Schools today, today's the 23rd. On the 21st, which was Monday, we actually welcomed back the pre-K and kindergarten classes to full-time into the buildings. If you didn't know how we started out, maybe I'll fill that in since we've got time to kill. We had the new teachers report, which was the week of the 24th of August. They started coming in virtually, and then we had all employees come in the following week. The teachers had to be in the school building at least 2 days a week. They could do some stuff remotely, online. And that was through the first week of school. Starting the week of the 14th, the teachers had to be in the school buildings to, full time. Part of the philosophy on this was to try to bring the adults back into the building first, to establish the procedures, work out the kinks, for staying distance and stuff. We've got signs just like they have in here on the floors that say 6 feet apart. The goal is to get the children back it's always safely as soon as possible. Next week we hope to be welcoming back the first through third graders back into their classrooms. Now, again, these are only the families who have chosen what we call the continuum, and we have never wavered from that. Now, when we announced that we gave everyone 2 choices back in July. You could either go totally virtual for the first semester, and we lined it up with the high school first semester, which doesn't end until February 2nd, or you could go into the continuum, which meant as soon as we could, we'll get you back into the school building, which at the same token, if something happens, we may have to move them out of the building, okay? But everyone, it's about a 2/3 split. About 2/3 wanted the continuum, and it varies from school, it varies from grade, and it varies, in certain parts of the city, more people want to be online, and like for instance, about 70% of our high schoolers wanted to be back in the building, okay? Whereas like we have some like in Crestwood Middle where my daughter's teaching, about 2/3 wanted to be online, okay? So it just varies, but generally we had 1/3 wanted to be totally online and 2/3 selected to continue, which is kind of important to know. That gives us the opportunity to spread kids out in the classroom. There's a lot been put out by, or letters to the editors, stuff about what we're doing, and it tends to be the few vocal people who don't necessarily want to work with us, but just don't want to go back to work, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and we welcome them. That's kind of how we're set up right now. Now, what we're looking to, as of this time, we actually have a matrix we've set up. We had a return to school safety, and I'm probably getting the acronyms incorrect. I think the superintendent, when he was here a few weeks ago, talked about that. We have a committee we set up back in March when all this happened in order to get us back. We had teachers and administrators and people from transportation and custodians available. Even Dr. Welch, Nancy Welshart, is part of that committee, and she shows up at all our meetings to answer questions if someone has one. So we're coordinating all that with the city to bring everyone back up. And Debbie and her counterparts on city council have been very gracious to us in sharing of the CARES funding. We've been able to purchase enough Chromebooks and computers to make sure that every child in the school system that wants it has one. So we're at a 1-to-1 distribution. It's a program we had set up, thinking it would take 5 years to do, and it took us 5 months. And that's because we work closely with council, and we're able to do that. We do not know of there's never been a waiting list or anything like that. We don't know of any child or family that needs one that doesn't have it. Some of the stuff I think the superintendent talked about, which has really been super successful, is we've been able to get Wi-Fi in houses where kids didn't have it. Even way out in rural areas, like maybe where Barbara lives, we actually have, and like where I live too, they have solar-powered Wi-Fi networks, hotspots that we put up. So, we've really done everything. If we know of an issue, we've beefed up all the, what you might call like the pipeline in the building, so all the teachers can be online at the same time. We've beefed up our IT department to be ready for this. So we didn't just jump on this. And we're studying it on a daily basis. We update it once a week on the school system. It's out there. You can see where we stand. We looked at the positivity rate of COVID in our area, and it's been dramatically dropping. But we're looking at it as a region instead of just the city of Chesapeake, because we're just so close to each other. People come back and forth to do. I've already been in Virginia Beach today, and over in Norfolk, with my job. We're always traveling back and forth. We felt it was important to look at it as a region. We're constantly answering parents' questions, and a lot of them show up at our school board meeting, and that's fine. That's what we're there for. But if there's, we hope to have, like I said, after we bring the first through third graders back, which will be on the 28th, next Monday, and then we will be looking at fourth and fifth graders and possibly sixth graders. We're trying to get the high schoolers, right after that, then we'll probably the rest of middle school. We're trying to get the high schoolers back as soon as we can. There's some scheduling conflicts, but we think we've kind of resolved that because some of the teachers are actually teaching their kids virtual and in the class at the same time for those that are virtual. That was a big scheduling problem for us. People like to talk about, athletics and stuff. We're following the VHSO rules. We're going to be starting the winter season will start in December, and actually the fall season is going to be like February to March or April. Everything's going to be condensed, and spring will go from April into June. And it looks like that's on track. We've got kids starting to work out and do stuff. So it's really, I actually on Monday, I was at Home Depot picking up a 2x4 like I always am. And I stopped around Hickory, and I actually stopped and took a picture of Southeastern Elementary because it was like the most beautiful sight in the world to see school buses at the building. And I think once we get the schools back to normalcy, then the rest of us can get back to normal with our lives. But that's one of the key things. So that's about what we're doing in the school system. That's my impromptu speech since no one else was here. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing or what's going on? Or feel free to ask me a question or call me. Particularly if you have someone who works for you and they're having difficulty or something, let us know. You can call me and I'll get them in touch with someone. We're really anxious to make sure it's going as smoothly as possible so the children aren't falling behind. But, yeah, Chris.
I do have a question. My assistant has got 3 girls. One's in kindergarten, so they're just going back. One is in middle school, and one's in high school. So she's got the whole, runs the whole gamut. So their biggest problem then is the Wi-Fi access during the day. Because 2 of the 3 of them are there at the house during the day, and then she's working from home as well. It was interesting to hear your Wi-Fi hotspots and stuff that you can do over there.
Yeah, and we're trying to do.
Is there increased modems or stuff that you can do?
Yeah, well, if they let their principals know, and that's why I keep going back to the principals have been well versed. We've beefed up their assistants who can help them. We're using teachers' aides who are not necessarily in the classroom to help with Wi-Fi issues. We're using our employees in other ways to help us get through this until we can get everyone back into the system. But if she's having issues with that, just let her principals and all know. That's why a child's not counted absent if they don't show up when the teacher says you're supposed to be here. And they're trying to record everything and have it online, then the child, they can only get one at a time to go through because of their, the small pipeline. We used to talk about that in the Navy was the pipeline, how much information you can flow through. So like if they can't get it all through, then they can go and review their lessons later. And they won't be counted absent. They'll have the opportunity to make that stuff. We're trying to make it as reasonable as possible, but still trying to get the educational process because my goodness, especially the little ones, and they're just so fallen so far behind. The other group of students we did bring back starting last week on the 14th was by appointment only some of our special needs children, those that need physical and occupational therapy. Also, we teach about 40 different languages in our city, trying to teach English as a second language. You'd be surprised at how many different languages people speak in our city. And before they can get online and do stuff, they need to have some rudimentary knowledge of English. So that's one of the other groups we brought back. And then we brought more special needs children back this week and hope to have them all the way back. And that's all grade levels, high school, middle school, and all. I think when I was touring Great Bridge High the first week, he was saying that second week they would get about 20 kids back to make sure. Yeah, you can't do occupational therapy with a student. You're just trying to teach them how, to tie their shoe or hold a pencil or, some life skills. And that's what occupational therapy is. You can't do that online. And so, the teachers are anxious to get back. The majority of our teachers and administration and staff has been absolutely outstanding, bending over backwards to do everything they can to make it a worthwhile experience for the children. But good question. But if anybody, if you know someone is having trouble, the first point of contact will always be the school. And if it doesn't work out, then, call me and I'll get someone in the central office to contact them. Anyone else? Thanks. Oh, Debbie.
I do. I try to watch some of the meetings.
Okay.
As if I'm not inundated enough by hours. But
That's okay. We watch yours too.
I would say what my husband says, which is young in life. Anyway, I've noticed, Chesapeake was the first city to fall below 5% in the positivity
Right.
rate. I think it would be helpful if Nancy could back that up with people. As usual, especially in social media, there's a lot of misinformation.
Yes.
That's passed along. And I think you all are suffering from that. And I don't think people understand that health advisory group. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that with professionals and how they're helping to guide your decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we try to emphasize that, but sometimes people, as you know, you've been around longer than I have with doing all this, people only hear what they want to hear. They extract that piece of information that supports what they want to do. And they don't want to hear the fact that we're actually dropping below. What Debbie's referring to is our health advisory group, and the positivity rate in Chesapeake is below 5%, which puts us in we had low, and then 5 to 10 was medium, above 10 was high. Well, we started out as high, and we just been gradually going down. And it's a tribute to the citizens, wearing their mask and doing the things that they've got to do. And the fact that we're, maybe it's herd immunity or whatever else it is, but I know we're doing what we need to do to get back to normalcy. Our health advisory group, like I said, it comprises quite a few people, and not just school people. Debbie referred to, as I did too, Dr. Welsh is in there. And I think it's also, and I'll bring that up too, I appreciate the suggestion, but it's just the fact that people don't necessarily know that they kind of think, okay, well, we just kind of threw up our arms and we decided we haven't done anything since March 13th when we closed schools, when we decided to open. We've been working overtime on it to try to come up with the correct way and a safe way. It's always about safety. And yeah, you know what? You can always find a clinch in the armor where, oh, well, this needs to be better. And here's one thing that people say, oh, what do you mean you're not taking temperatures of the kids as they come into the building? We've changed the policy because we realized that if we did that, we'd have such a glump of kids trying to get in the building. They'd be doing exactly what we don't want them to do, is being real close together. And so we've come up with this health form that parents have got to sign off on. First, they've got to fill out this information on their child and it's all online. And every day, they've got to sign in and say, yes, they're not sick and they don't have the temperature. Now, if they don't do that, and we're giving them like 3 chances to do that. If they don't, then we're going to move their child from going to school to being totally online because they're endangering the other children. That's one of the things we're doing that we adopted to. First, we're going to oh, you got to take the temperature. Everyone's you go to our board meetings, you come in the door, they're going to take your temperature and they ask you a whole bunch of questions and give you a little sticker saying you've been certified or whatever. Mine always falls off, but it's okay. But we're doing that, and that's one of the things that we decided to change. When we first came out with the continuum and discussed it in early July, we said it will change. And then, as I said, people picked things out. And because we've changed, people were complaining. Because as the situation changed, first we restricted what we were going to do, and then it continued to get better. It continues to this day. So we're on the right path. We're doing what we need to do. Things are looking up. But the whole point of that was we weren't just going to say, boom, we're going to do this, and that's it. No, we look at it on a daily basis. We report it out on a weekly basis. We talk about it every 2 weeks at a board meeting, and then we kind of adapt. So on Monday night, for those that have children or people that work for you with children in the other grades, we've only announced up to 3rd grade, which is this Monday. We'll have more information going out because everything's trending the way it is. We're working out the thing. We have enough face masks and sanitation devices and signs, and we're working with the dividers in the rooms and everything that we can do. Now, it's not going to be perfect, and there's probably going to be a situation where we can make it better. But to those people, I just say, let us know what your suggestion is. Help us find a solution instead of just saying, oh, you got to shut everything down because this kid is 2.5 feet instead of 3 feet away. Okay, so thanks. Any other questions? And really, if you have anyone, my personal cell is on the school system website under my picture. If you have anyone who works for you that has any questions, have them call me, and I'll get them. I won't have the answer probably, but I can get them in contact with someone who does. Brent?
How will the school system handle the testing, like the standard, the SOLs and that kind of thing?
Right now, well, the SOLs for this year and next year have been sidelined by the state. I don't know how they're going to work after that point. I think we're just all trying to get the kids back in. Let's get back to normal, because there's going to be a lot of catching up to do. You know what I mean? And they're not going to be expected to have to do that. I think the whole country is that way as far as the testing goes. Because if you didn't know, Virginia led the way in the country. We had SOLs before it was mandated a long time ago, and they said, well, okay, but ours was good enough. We didn't have to come up with it. And I'm a supporter of it because I think it's a great equalizer. It kind of shows to the taxpayers we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing in the school system. Good question, though. Yeah, because I've had that one before. So last year, of course, we didn't do any. This year, we're not doing any either. And like testing, some of the things you don't think about that happens, along with what Brett was saying, testing, SATs. We can't do SATs because we can't put enough people in the school building. And that's one of the issues that some parents are having because their kids are got to take the SATs or want a better grade. They're trying to get a scholarship, get into a school or something. One parent's always been up, he finally found a place up in Wakefield or something where his daughter's going to go take the SATs where she was able to get into that session. But as things change, it wasn't until, we rolled back into, what is it, number 3 or, 3, where we can have a few more people in there, but you still got to be socially distanced. So that's just one of the ancillary things besides all just getting the kids back that impacts a lot of people, and you can see significantly. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Last year, how did you do what happened because you couldn't do AP exams? So you had students that went through AP courses and
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. The question was, how did you work it with AP students last year who couldn't take the exam because we were closed, you couldn't do the exam? I don't know how that's going to go. Because that's really, that AP test that they take, having had 3 kids who took them, that it really just can get you some college credit ahead of time, okay? And that's going to be up to the colleges and the universities who accepted these children to see whether they'll give them credit for that or not. I mean, some schools, even if you took it, they still wanted you to take it. It depends. That's definitely up to the individual school, and that goes over across state lines and stuff. A good question. Anybody else? Thank you so much. Hopefully that worked out, Jonathan. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Harry. Appreciate you filling up some time with some very useful information for us all. A couple of announcements next week. We have Michael Berlucci coming to speak with us. He's from the Chrysler Museum. A couple other announcements. If you didn't already know by now, it is official. No Wine Festival. We are trying to make some sort of alternative arrangements, try to come up with some fundraising ideas in lieu of that. Also, I have been informed by Anthony that we are likely not going to be doing the Christmas parade this year as well. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up in case the public is asking any questions about either one of these 2 events. They are likely both on the shelf for this year. But there have been some other ideas. I know Marcelo and Anthony have both come up with a possible virtual program for the Christmas parade that's been utilized in other areas for 4th of July parades and things of that nature. So that's something perhaps we'll look into as well. But if anybody has any suggestions about fundraising ideas and things of that nature so we can fund the events and programs that we do already, please let me know. Send me a text, shoot me an email. I'm always looking for some ideas to try to compensate for the loss of revenue that these 2 events bring us. So let me know. If that is it and nothing else for the good of Rotary, we are adjourned.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
previous thing.